I always thought those life-changing moment stories were dramatic exaggerations until I had my own on a random Tuesday afternoon. My name is Jenna, and I was mindlessly scrolling through Facebook during my lunch break when a message from a stranger popped up. Just a simple, "You should know the truth about your husband," followed by a photo that made my turkey sandwich turn to ash in my mouth. There was Ethan, my husband of 20 years, standing in front of a Christmas tree I'd never seen, with his arm around a younger woman and two small children. They were all wearing matching pajamas, like those cheesy holiday card photos families send out. The timestamp showed December 25th of last year, the same day Ethan had told me he was stuck in Denver on a business trip. "Must be some kind of mistake," I muttered, zooming in on the photo. But there was no mistake. That was my husband's crooked smile, the same one our daughter Lily inherited, the same smile that used to make my heart skip a beat. My hands shaking, I called Ethan's office. "I'm sorry, Mrs. Caldwell, but Mr. Caldwell is in a meeting," his secretary said. "Tell him it's an emergency." 5 minutes later, my phone rang. "Jenna? What's wrong? Are you at the office?" I asked, trying to keep my voice steady. "Of course. Why? Could you come home early? We need to talk." There was a pause. A pause that stretched just a second too long. "About what?" "About your family in Denver." The silence that followed told me everything. When he finally spoke, his voice was different. Colder. Like a mask had slipped off. "I'll be home in an hour." I spent that hour staring at the photo, noticing new details each time. The woman's perfectly manicured hand on his chest. The little boy who had Ethan's ears. The gleaming wedding ring on my husband's finger, not the one I gave him. My phone buzzed again. Another message from the stranger. "Her name is Samantha Reed. They've been married for 5 years. I thought you deserved to know." 5 years. While I was helping Lily with college applications and planning our 20th anniversary, my husband had been building a whole other life. The sound of a car pulling into our driveway snapped me back to reality. I looked at my reflection in my office computer screen, mascara slightly smudged, face pale, but still standing, still breathing. The front door opened. Footsteps in the hallway. Time to face the truth about the man I thought I knew. Telling your 17-year-old daughter that her father has a secret family is about as fun as it sounds. I'd spent the last week rehearsing this conversation in my head, but nothing could have prepared me for Lily's actual reaction. "You're lying," she said, her voice trembling. "Dad wouldn't do that." We were sitting in our kitchen, the same spot where we'd had countless family dinners. The Christmas photo was face down on the table between us, like a loaded gun neither of us wanted to touch. "Honey, I wish I was lying." I reached for her hand, but she pulled away. "Did you do something? Is this why he—" She couldn't finish the sentence, but the accusation hung in the air. Was this somehow my fault? Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Samantha Reed. "Ethan told me everything. Maybe if you'd been more exciting, he wouldn't have needed me. Don't worry, I'll take good care of him and Lily." My hands clenched into fists under the table. I deleted the message before Lily could see it. "Dad wants me to come stay with him this weekend," Lily announced, her chin lifted in defiance. "In Denver." The words hit me like a physical blow. "He what?" "He says I should meet everyone. That it's time to be honest." She picked up the photo, studying it. "The kids. They're my siblings, aren't they?" I nodded, watching my daughter's face as she processed this new reality. Half-siblings she never knew existed. A stepmother barely a decade older than her. "Maybe it won't be so bad," Lily said softly. "Having a bigger family." That's when my best friend Maya's words from our phone call last night echoed in my head. "Don't let them rewrite the story, Jenna. Don't let them make you the villain." "Lily," I said carefully, "before you go to Denver, there's something else you need to know. About the money your father set aside for your college fund." Her head snapped up. "What about it?" I pulled out the bank statements I discovered yesterday, showing the systematic drainage of our accounts over the past 5 years. Each withdrawal matched perfectly with deposits into an account under Samantha Reed's name. "He's been using your future to fund his new family." Lily stared at the papers, her face going through a kaleidoscope of emotions: confusion, denial, anger. Finally, she stood up so abruptly her chair scraped against the floor. "I need to think," she mumbled, heading for the stairs. I need to think." As her bedroom door slammed shut upstairs, my phone buzzed again. Another message from Samantha. By the way, Lily's going to love the car we bought her. It's amazing what your college fund can buy these days. I deleted that message too, but not before taking a screenshot. Some things are worth saving for later. Being an accountant has its perks. Like knowing exactly where to look when your cheating husband has been playing fast and loose with family finances. After 3 sleepless nights of digging through bank statements and credit card records, I finally had the full picture, and it was uglier than I'd imagined. He's been moving money since before Lily started high school, I told Maya over coffee in her kitchen. Small amounts at first, then bigger transfers. Always on days he claimed to be at sales conferences. Maya slid a fresh cup of coffee across the counter. How much? $237,000. My voice cracked. Lily's entire college fund, plus our retirement savings. That son of a... My phone buzzed. A text from Lily, in Denver with Dad. The house is amazing. Samantha's taking me shopping tomorrow. Another message popped up immediately after. Why didn't you ever let us live like this? I set the phone face down, my hands shaking. Maya reached across and squeezed my arm. You need to call your father, she said quietly. Walter? I haven't spoken to him in years. He's a real estate mogul who's dealt with his share of financial fraud. And more importantly, he's a shark when it comes to protecting family. I laughed bitterly. Family? He chose his new wife over Mom when she was dying. People change, Jenna. And right now, you need all the allies you can get. Before I could respond, my email pinged. From Ethan's lawyer, notice of intent to file for divorce. I opened the attachment, scanning the documents until I reached the proposed settlement. My coffee cup slipped from my hand, shattering on the floor. What? Maya grabbed my phone. Her eyes widened as she read. He wants the house? And joint custody? After everything he's done. Look at the lawyer's name, I whispered. Maya squinted. Harrison Reed. Wait, Reed? As in? Samantha's father. I stood up, suddenly feeling caged in Maya's cozy kitchen. They're trying to take everything, Maya. My home, my daughter, my dignity. And they're using my own money to do it. That's when I remembered something my father once told me. Back when I was young and thought I knew everything about the world. The best revenge isn't served cold, sweetheart. It's served legally. I picked up my phone, fingers hovering over his contact. 10 years of silence stretched between us like a chasm. But sometimes bridges are built out of necessity. What are you thinking? Maya asked, recognizing the look in my eyes. I'm thinking it's time to fight fire with fire. I pressed dial. And my father knows all about playing with matches. The phone rang once, twice. Then a familiar gruff voice. Walter Mitchell speaking. Dad? It's Jenna. I need your help. Walking into my father's office after 10 years felt like stepping into a time capsule. The same imposing mahogany desk, the same view of the city's skyline, even the same stern expression on his face as he studied the financial documents I'd brought. $237,000, he said, setting down the papers. And Harrison Reed is representing them? I nodded, fighting the urge to fidget like a teenager in the principal's office. Samantha's father. Walter leaned back in his chair, a familiar glint in his eye. Harrison's firm is bleeding money. Has been for years. He's desperate for clients who can pay his rates. What are you saying? I'm saying your husband's new family might not be as financially secure as they want everyone to believe. He pulled up something on his computer. Look at this. I moved around the desk. Property records filled the screen. The Denver house Lily had been raving about. 3 mortgages, Walter pointed out. And they're behind on all of them. Your college fund money probably kept them afloat for a while. But my phone buzzed. Another text from Lily. Samantha's taking me to Paris for spring break. Dad says you can't stop us because of shared custody. Walter caught my expression. They're trying to buy her loyalty. With my money, I said through gritted teeth. No. He closed the laptop. With borrowed time and borrowed cash. The question is, what are you going to do about it? I stared out at the city below, remembering how Ethan used to joke that my father's success intimidated him. Maybe it wasn't a joke after all. I want to protect Lily, I said finally. But I also want justice, revenge. The word tasted strange on my tongue. Is that terrible? Walter stood up, straightening his tie in the window's reflection. You know why your mother and I really split up? The abrupt change of subject threw me. She said you chose your new wife over her. She said that because it was easier than admitting the truth. She embezzled from my company, tried to frame my partner for it. I could have destroyed her, but instead, I just left. I turned to face him, seeing him clearly for the first time in years. Why are you telling me this? Because revenge without strategy is just anger with a fancy name. He handed me a business card. This is the best forensic accountant in the state. And this, he pulled out an employment contract, is an offer to join Mitchell Real Estate as our new financial director. Dad, I can't. You can. And you will. His expression softened slightly. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about destroying your enemies. It's about rebuilding yourself into something they never thought you could be. The contract felt heavy in my hands, like a key to a door I hadn't known existed. When do I start? 3 months into working at Mitchell Real Estate, I finally understood why my father was so successful and feared. I'd spent weeks learning the business, analyzing properties, and discovering patterns that others missed, including one that made my blood run cold. Look at this, I told Maya over lunch in my new office. Every property Ethan and Samantha have touched in the last year is underwater, but they keep getting approved for loans. How? Someone's falsifying documents. And given that Harrison Reed's firm handles all their paperwork, my computer pinged with an email notification. From Lily, can't make it to dinner tonight. Going house hunting with Dad and Sam. They're looking at this amazing vacation property. Another ping. A forwarded listing for a beach house worth millions. Maya whistled at the price. They can't afford that. No, I said, pulling up the property records. But Harrison Reed's wife just became the loan officer at Denver First Bank. Jesus, Jenna. This is fraud. I know. I rubbed my temples, feeling a headache building. And Lily's right in the middle of it. My phone rang. Walter's name flashed on the screen. The forensic accountant finished his report, he said without preamble. It's worse than we thought. Ethan's been cooking books at his company too. The feds are already investigating. The room seemed to tilt. Does he know? Not yet. But when it breaks. Walter paused. Jenna, anyone connected to their finances could be implicated. My hands started shaking. Lily's 18th birthday is next month. She's planning to sign some investment papers with them. You need to stop her. She won't listen to me. The words came out sharper than intended. She thinks I'm just jealous of their perfect life. Then make her see the truth. I stared at the email from Lily, at the beach house that represented everything Ethan and Samantha were selling, a fantasy built on fraud and lies. If I expose this, I said slowly, they'll all go down. Ethan, Samantha, Harrison. They could go to prison. And if you don't? The answer hung between us, unspoken but clear. Lily could go down with them. Maya touched my arm. What are you going to do? I opened my drawer, pulled out the file I'd been building for weeks. Evidence. Bank records. Falsified documents. Everything needed to bring their house of cards crashing down. I'm going to save my daughter, I said, reaching for my phone. Even if she hates me for it. But before I could dial, a news alert flashed across my screen. Denver First Bank under federal investigation. Multiple arrests expected. The dominoes were already falling. And Lily was still in Denver. The Denver police station smelled like stale coffee and desperation. I sat in the waiting area, watching officers escort a handcuffed Harrison Reed past me while my calls to Lily went straight to voicemail. Any word? Maya asked, settling into the chair beside me with 2 paper cups of vending machine coffee. I shook my head. Her phone's off. Ethan and Samantha aren't answering either. Miss Caldwell. A detective appeared, notepad in hand. We found your daughter's car at Denver International Airport. Security footage shows her boarding a flight to Paris 3 hours ago. The coffee cup slipped from my hand, spreading across the linoleum like spilled blood. With who? Samantha Reed. Your ex-husband stayed behind. Of course he did. The coward's way out, letting his young wife take the fall while he played innocent. Just like with our marriage. My phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. She's safe with me. Unlike you, I'll give her the life she deserves. Yes. The detective leaned forward. Mrs. Caldwell, Given the scope of the fraud investigation, leaving the country with a minor could be considered. Kidnapping. I finished, the word tasting like ash. My daughter's been kidnapped by my husband's other wife. Maya grabbed my arm as I swayed in my chair. What about Interpol? Already notified, the detective said. But with no direct evidence of danger to the minor, and given the shared custody agreement. My father's voice cut through the chaos. Then we'll get you evidence. Walter strode into the station, flanked by two men in suits. These gentlemen are from the FBI's Financial Crimes Unit. They'd like to know more about those offshore accounts Samantha Reed opened last week. I looked up sharply. What offshore accounts? The ones she funded with money stolen from your daughter's college fund. Walter's expression was grim. She's been planning this for months, Jenna. Using Lily to access the last of the money before everything fell apart. The detective was already on his phone, speaking rapidly and officially. I barely heard him through the roaring in my ears. My phone buzzed again. This time a photo. Lily and Samantha, smiling in front of the Eiffel Tower. The caption read, "Thanks for financing our new life, Mom. Don't worry about finding us. Paris is just the first stop." I stared at my daughter's face, seeing not excitement but fear behind her smile. She was 17, alone in a foreign country with a desperate woman who'd just committed multiple felonies. I should have seen this coming, I whispered. I was so focused on exposing them. I didn't protect her. We'll find her, Maya promised. But as I watched Harrison Reed being led away in handcuffs, all I could think was that I'd wanted revenge so badly. I'd forgotten the most important thing. Sometimes winning the battle means losing everything that matters. The call came at 3 a.m., 2 weeks after Lily disappeared. A number I didn't recognize, but a voice I'd never forget. "Your daughter's sick," Samantha said. "We're at American Hospital in Paris." My heart stopped. Put her on the phone. Can't. She's in intensive care. Turns out running away isn't as glamorous as movies make it seem. Her voice cracked. I didn't. I never meant for. I was already grabbing my passport. Walter's private jet arrangements pulled up on my laptop. What happened? She collapsed yesterday. The doctors say it's her heart. They need her medical history, but I can't. If I go to the embassy. Because you kidnapped her, I finished, my voice ice cold. Because you're facing federal charges. Silence stretched between us, filled with the beeping of hospital machines in the background. I'll text you the address, she finally said. Just hurry. 12 hours later, I walked into a private hospital room to find my daughter unconscious, tubes snaking from her arms, and Samantha Reed looking nothing like the polished trophy wife from the Christmas photo. Her designer clothes were wrinkled, her makeup streaked with tears. It's the same condition your grandmother had, I said quietly. The one I told Ethan about when we got married. The one he conveniently forgot to mention when you took her. Samantha flinched. I thought she was just being dramatic. Teenagers always. Always what? Fake genetic heart conditions. I moved to Lily's bedside, checking her chart. Where's Ethan? Gone. Her laugh was hollow. The moment the FBI started investigating, he transferred everything to my name and disappeared. Even the house in Denver. It was all in my name. I never even noticed. Because you were too busy stealing my daughter. I was trying to prove I was better than you. The words exploded from her. That I could give her everything you couldn't. But it was all his money. His lies. And now you're facing prison, I finished. Unless. She looked up sharply. Unless. I pulled out my phone, showing her the email from the FBI. They want Ethan. Give them everything you know about his real accounts, his hideouts, his contacts. Help them find him. And in return, I'll tell them you brought Lily to the hospital voluntarily. That you called me immediately. I met her eyes. But first, you need to understand something. This deal isn't about revenge or justice. It's about making sure my daughter never gets caught in the crossfire of someone else's lies again. Samantha looked at Lily's pale face, then back at me. Slowly, she reached for my phone. I'll tell you everything. 6 months after Paris, I sat in my father's office, watching Lily practice her presentation for the Mitchell Real Estate Summer Internship Program. The doctors had cleared her for normal activities, though the scar from her heart surgery was still pink and new. And that's why sustainable development is crucial for long-term market stability, she concluded, clicking to her final slide. Not bad for someone who used to think real estate was boring, I said, smiling. She packed up her laptop, hesitating before sitting down. Mom? I got a letter from Samantha yesterday. My hands stilled on the keyboard. After her testimony had helped the FBI locate Ethan in Buenos Aires. Samantha had taken a plea deal, minimal jail time in exchange for full cooperation. She's being released next month, Lily continued. She wants to meet, to apologize in person. Through the office window, I could see Walter showing Maya around the new development project she'd helped finance. My best friend had turned out to have quite the eye for investment opportunities. What do you want to do? I asked Lily. I don't know. She twisted a strand of hair, just like she used to do as a little girl. Part of me wants to hear what she has to say, but another part is afraid to trust again? She nodded. How did you do it? Trust Dad's father again after everything. I looked at Walter, remembering our own painful reconciliation. Because holding on to anger was hurting me more than it was hurting anyone else. My phone buzzed, a news alert. Ethan's sentencing had finally come through. 15 years for fraud and financial crimes. No mention of the families he'd destroyed or the lives he'd derailed. You never tried to get revenge, Lily said quietly. Even when you could have. The best revenge was making sure you were safe. Everything else was just. I gestured at the office, the city beyond, the life we'd built from the ashes of betrayal. Details. She stood up, smoothing her business suit, a far cry from the designer clothes Samantha had once promised her. I think I want to meet her. Not to forgive, exactly, but to understand. I nodded, remembering the last line of Samantha's letter to me. You showed me what real strength looks like. Not in destroying others, but in rebuilding yourself. Want me to come with you? I asked Lily. Actually, yeah, I do. As we walked out together, I caught our reflection in the window, mother and daughter, scarred but standing, finally facing the same direction. Sometimes the greatest victory isn't in getting even, but in getting better. And sometimes the hardest person to forgive isn't the one who hurt you, but the part of yourself that wanted revenge more than healing.